If you sit down and listen to me speak today, you'll hear a voice that is soothing and patient. It is the voice of a mother, a life coach, and someone who has found peace after years of turmoil. But that peace came from the center of a nightmare. In August 1988, the rural quiet of Martinsdale, Iowa, was shattered. A 53-year-old man named Dwayne Beetle was brutally stabbed. He chased his attacker down a country road before his car collided with a neighbor's driveway, where he eventually bled to death. His wife, Catherine, was found severely wounded at their farmhouse. The fleeing 34-year-old suspect was named David Beetle. He was my biological father. After the crash, David fled west. He vanished into the dense, heavily wooded areas and fields of tall Iowa corn, using the 6-foot stalks to hide from the world. Tracking him down required a massive mobilization. Warren County Deputies, Division of Criminal Investigation agents, and Iowa State Patrol troopers flooded the landscape, with airplanes circling overhead to scan the heavy brush. I was 11 years old at the time, hidden away safely at my Aunt Diane's house out in the country. Watching the live manhunt unfold on the news, I saw his mugshot for the first time. I sat there staring at the screen, a child trying to comprehend what it meant to share the bloodline of a killer. Long before the manhunt, my mother and grandparents had made the agonizing choice to keep me completely hidden from him. Following my parents' divorce when I was a baby, visiting him was considered entirely too dangerous. The last time I saw him, I was 2 years old. We traveled to the St. Louis Mental Hospital. Even at that young age, the memory stuck with me. Walking into a sterile room to find him sitting there, vacant, staring past us as if we were nothing more than shadows. David suffered from severe schizophrenia and multiple personalities. His delusions were terrifying. He talked about bird people and threatened to find me to save me from aliens. He had even tried to execute my mother, standing over her with a gun and pulling the trigger. Miraculously, she survived. Growing up, the story of my father hung over my life. His severe psychosis stood as an active, terrifying prophecy of what my own mind could become. My response to that lingering fear was to run as fast as I could in the opposite direction. In high school, I threw myself into everything: volleyball, track, swimming, cheerleading, orchestra, and the marching band. I poured my energy into playing the violin and the bassoon, desperate to weave a normal life out of sheer willpower. But at 16, that carefully constructed normalcy shattered. I survived a date rape and found myself pregnant with my oldest daughter. 2 weeks before graduating high school, I met the man who would become my husband. We moved in together almost immediately, and the relationship quickly devolved into verbal and mental abuse. The first time he physically assaulted me, I was 8 months pregnant. It mirrored the violence my own mother had endured. To numb the chaos of raising young kids in a violent household, I turned to self-medication. After my oldest son was born, I started using methamphetamine. Soon after, marijuana became a daily fixture in my life. I had spent my entire youth sprinting away from the dysfunction of my parents. Yet, by trying to outrun that inherited trauma, I walked straight into a cycle that relentlessly repeated their history. Eventually, my husband was sent to prison. I was left completely alone to navigate life as a single mother, raising 4 children under the age of 5, with my only support system over 2 hours away. Under that crushing weight, my own mind began to break. The doctors handed down a heavy list of diagnoses: anxiety, major depression, and manic bipolar disorder. Then came the ones that echoed my father's medical records: schizophrenia, schizoaffective disorder, and dissociative identity disorder. It became paralyzing. I developed severe agoraphobia. The simple act of opening my front door filled me with a fear so physical it became a prison of my own making. I was desperately trying to keep my kids fed while balancing a full-time job and my deteriorating mental health. My prescribed medications only pushed me deeper into addiction. With no other options, I entered the criminal underworld and started selling drugs to survive. The inevitable crash happened in 2011. I was caught in a massive drug conspiracy. The judge handed down a staggering 22-year prison sentence. Sitting in that cell, separated from my children by razor wire, the reflection was complete. Stripped of everything and locked away, I had essentially become my father. It was within those prison walls that I was forced to face the truth of my situation. After just 6 months, I was granted release on reconsideration and placed on probation. Driven by a desperate need to regain custody of my kids, I set out to heal my mind. I plunged into spirituality, becoming certified in various energy healing modalities and diving deep into New Age philosophy. I was convinced that by delving into these metaphysical ideas, I was harnessing a divine power to repair what was broken. But the healing didn't hold. The more I practiced, the more I felt the same spirits that had haunted me for years tightening their grip. I realized that my quest for power was actually a dive into voodoo and black magic, serving the very darkness I was trying to escape. Therapy, medication, and alternative spiritual remedies all fell short. A generational trauma of this magnitude is a deep spiritual affliction, requiring a spiritual solution. I made a definitive pivot. I renounced my previous practices and sought Christian deliverance. I surrendered my battle in the silence of my heart, asking for the Holy Spirit. Through fervent prayer, the heavy psychiatric burdens began to lift. The addictions that had chained me for decades lost their grip, and the intense noise in my mind finally went quiet. The real-world results followed. I successfully completed my 3 years of probation. I regained full custody of my children, bringing our family back together. Today, I am a certified Christian life coach minister, working toward my bachelor's degree. I use the darkness of my past to pull others out of their own. No matter how severe the medical diagnosis or how heavy the generational curse feels, it is never a life sentence. Redemption and true healing are always within reach.